can use Christmas paper. Just move this out of the way. The packs of A5 paper that you get, they're meant for card making, scrapbooking. Again, you just take them out and you just measure them. You can have this, rather than covering it all there, you can have this as just like a belly band going down the middle. So I'm just going to cut a strip of this off and I'll be back in a minute. So here I've got some clear stamps. You can use rubber stamps as well to make your own paper to wrap around your box. You can use dye-based inks. And here I've got some die cuts that I've made, but you can also buy them from the shops. You can get them in paper and you can also get them in felt. Have a look and see what you've got laying around the house. You can also decorate with some silk flowers you've got. You can tear the actual layers, just pop off the plastic stems. So that would also be a nice way to decorate. You could even collect pine cones from outside, wash and dry them, put them in a tub and put a few drops of essential oil and then leave them in the tub for a few days, covering with the lid, and then they will be infused with a nice scent also as well. So there's lots of different ways that you can decorate these. So again, have a look and see what you've got and use what you have. This is another way to decorate them. If you've got any of the sticky back vinyl that's especially for covering drawers, etc. This one, I think it cost me £1. It wasn't expensive. So you're again in the range, etc. You can get things like this at £1 or £2 a roll. And as I say, they're sticky, so they will go on your tube. Another one I've had for a few years, a friend bought me, is the owl one. And again, these are at the back. You can see they've got a grid to help you cut them out, but they also this is peelable, so you don't need to use any glue if you're using this. Now, the technique to make your kitchen roll tube into a pillow box is to flatten it. So I'll show you how to do that in a moment. First of all though, you'll need to gather some tools, see what you have. Now, I've had a look around to see what I've got. So I've got a little ruler there that will help me score. For this, you can get scoring bone tools, but if you don't have that, have a look and see what you've got. A knitting needle, one that's not too pointed, can be used as a scoring tool to score the curve. If you've got an old ballpoint pen that's run out, you can also use this. Again, have a look and see what you've got in the house and have a look around. So I'm going to squish this with my hands first of all. And then while my finger's still wet, I'm going to take, while my hand's still wet, I'm going to take my fingers and just crease like that to start off. And here I've got a little bump where the card is rolled, so I'm just going to, from the overhead, I'm going to push that down rather than scoring it along that way. And still keeping my hands here, I'm just going to use my finger to start off the creases. I'm now going to score these. Now, as I said, you can use a ruler. You can use a ruler or even a pen or a scoring bone tool. So I'll show you today how you can use a ruler. Scoring quite well. Turn that round. And now we have a nice scored edge, and because we've done it gently, the card hasn't torn the edges because we've taken the time with it. Now the tubes will vary in size. So to make these into 2 pillar boxes, you just want to hold it in place so the cardboard's not popping. Just mind your fingers. And the cardboard's quite thick, so you'll need a good pair of scissors to cut this. And it doesn't matter if they're not exactly the same size. Let's see, well, that's not bad. I think it's about 1 millimetre out, but that really doesn't matter. Right, so the next part is to do a score line around here. Just have a look around your house to see what you've got that's got a suitable curve that's going to go from that point to that point, but not go too far into the actual size of your box. So let's see how this one is. And we'll try that and see how it looks. Again, I'm just doing it in pencils to see first of all. Yeah, that looks okay. It's not taking too much of the box away, and it'll create a nice depth. So now that I'm happy with what I have found to create my curve, I'm going to make sure it touches there and then swivel it round so it touches there. I'm going to hold that down. Now we want to create our score line. As I said, you can use a score tool, you can use a knitting needle. So what this does is it creates a score line so that the cardboard will bend more easily and then it won't crack. So just go around a few times. You don't want to be cutting it, you just want to be pressing it. And I'll hold it up to the camera so you can see. Look, you can see that's the score line there. Now it hasn't went through to the other side, so again I'll just match the 2 sides there. Just swivel until both ends are touching. And then just score again. And we want to do this with all 4 edges. So the idea being that these score lines, you'll be able to turn your box like that and see how when you press it, it just goes like that. And then you do that on the other side of your box, and this seals it up. And just press along there. So that seals up to make your pillow box. So do that with all the kitchen roll tubes you have. Cut them in half and then score them. And then we'll move on to the next phase in a minute. So get the size if you don't have a grid pattern on your sticky back vinyl. It's just allow for a couple of centimetres here. Again, you want to allow for maybe like a centimetre to overlap. So what I've done is I've just put some lines here, put a couple of lines there, and then I've put a couple of lines there. So that gets me the size that I need. So again, just use your ruler to draw in the lines. And this one, because it's a sticky back vinyl, is going to wrap all the way around, totally covering the cardboard. So here I'm just going to add the sticky back vinyl onto the kitchen roll tube. Peel just half off at a time so it doesn't stick to itself. So just take it and put it in the middle, paying attention to the edges to make sure you've got it centred for the overlap that we're going to turn under. So smooth out and remove any air bubbles as you go along. So that's what I'm doing just now, removing the air bubbles. I'm going to snip just a little bit at each edge of the kitchen roll tube. This will make it easier to fold it under and there'll be less creasing. So you just, again, do it tight to the corners and press as you go, making sure that the two sticky sides don't stick together. So again, I'm just pressing, evening it out, making sure I'm smoothing out any bubbles here, and I'm going to recrease the sides. There's a tiny little bit of an overlap there, so I'm just going to cut that off with the scissors. And now it's a matter of folding the edge inside. So just keep pressing and folding and make sure you smooth it with your fingers right on the edge so that it's tight, and then press against your table as well. So here I'm just snipping a little triangle part off there again to make it easier where the fold is in the cardboard. This will mean there's less creases in the inside. So again, just smooth it over you with your fingers and press as you go along, and keep checking it and press down again with your fingers to ensure that it's all sticking to the tube. So again, I'm just cutting a little bit away and then smooth and press with your fingers. It's a really nice vinyl. This has got holographic, so you could make these for Christmas, you could make it for Valentine's gifts, for birthdays. You can get things like nail polish in them, also different small gifts like lip balms, etc. You can actually get 2 or 3 little items in. So here I'm just scoring the edges again so we have a nice crisp and even edge. This version here, I'm scoring on the plastic. If I'd scored on the cardboard first and then put the plastic cover over, I wouldn't have been able to see where the actual line is to bend it. So I'm just doing this again on all 4 sides. And I've speeded this up because it took me a little bit of time. So you can see there how it's scored. So do it gently, don't put too much pressure on it because you don't want to rip the actual vinyl that you've put on. There's slight air bubbles there, so I'm just pressing it out in a slight crease, but that's not going to matter. So again, I'm just going to score it, and I'm scoring it holding the cup a tiny little bit away from the edge so that when I actually press the needle down, it's going right into those edges of the side of the tube. And there we go. That one is a little bit too heavy, but it's fine. So now you just press with your fingers, a little bit at a time, just following the line of the score line, just following that. And also pinch the edge corner as well. But also with pillow boxes, when you're doing the folds, it's neater if the last fold is at the front. So it makes it neater looking. So I'm just changing that over there. I was quite happy with how this one turned out. And what I'm probably going to do is tie some ribbon around this one, I think, and I'm going to use the poinsettias that I have to decorate this one here. As I said, it could be for any time of year. So just take to the ribbon and only cut the ribbon once you're happy with the length of ribbon that you actually need. So you just twist it round. And here you'll see I had done it the wrong way. You want the twist of the ribbons to be at the back of your box where the overlapping line is. So you'll see here, I realise that, and I just turn it round. You just pinch the knot with your fingers and bring it back round. There we go. And taking the ribbon end, you want to put it over and then put it underneath, and that secures your ribbon in place. So when you're tying your bow, it will be even and your ribbon won't slip about. And here I'm working out which way to turn and do the bow, so that when I push the other loop through, that the ribbon's the right way around. And also you can manipulate the ribbon strands as well. Now, to make a nice edge for the ribbon, you fold it in half and then you cut it, and you cut down the way from the folded edge, and this will create a nice edge for your ribbon. So you'll see there, it's quite nice. Makes it look a wee bit more professional. And to be honest, by the time I finish this box, it looks like something you could easily buy in a shop. They look that nice. So there's that one finished. I'm really happy with this and how that one turned out. With the Christmas paper, I just want to decide where I want the artwork to be, whether I want it horizontal or vertical. So I think I'll have the bears going that way. So I'm just going to set that on there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a few pencil marks on it as guidelines. So you can see that edge there, where your score lines are. What I'm going to do is do some lines with my ruler to mark it out. So now I know that I'm going to have those bears in the middle. Now the size of the belly band that goes round is 6 centimetres and the length is 17 centimetres. So what I'm going to do is just half that there. So I'm just looking for my lines again, so there's bears. It's going to say about half there. And again, just put a line there. And that's going to go right to the edge of my paper, so I don't need to trim that side. Just looking for the second line. So because I'm marking right up to here, I will be trimming to the inside of that slightly, so I can just do some pencil lines at the moment. So they're not going to show up when I actually go to trim. So either cut that with the scissors, just a millimetre or two in, or you can use a paper trimmer. I've got a paper trimmer, so I'm going to use that today. So using double-sided tape, I'm going to put a little bit at the top here. And as close to the edge as possible, but not going over. Just press with your finger and trim with the scissors. Again, just making sure it's not going over the edge. So with the paper, it's got enough firmness that just putting a little bit there and there will hold it in place. What you could do, however, is put double-sided tape at the sides, but it'll make it a little bit more awkward to put the actual piece of paper around your kitchen roll tube. Now the wrapping paper is a lot more flimsier. Easiest way to apply double-sided tape is to put it in place with your fingers close to the edge, but not going over, press down, and then using your two hands, smooth out as you're going along. And you can also, if it's not straight, you can slightly pull the tape to get closer to the edge again. What's happened here is the tiniest little bit went over the edge there. So I'm just going to trim that off. So that'll end up making things stick to our box, and we don't want that. I recommend that when you're putting the paper, when you're gluing the paper on to your envelope box, that you only remove the tape backing a little bit at a time. That'll make it a little bit more easier to do. So again, close to the edge, using my finger to smooth it down, pulling the tape out. Again, make sure I don't go over the edge. This is the easiest way to apply double-sided tape. I'm smoothing it out. I want to make sure it does go all the way to the edge. Now you don't want to use double-sided tape to overlap. It's only a tiny millimetre there. But the best way to sort that out is use your nail, peel it back, and then put that over like that. And that's good to go. Right, so here is pre-scored. It's already pre-scored. So let's have a look and decide which side I want to be against the box. So I'm just centering it there, and then I'm folding it over with my fingers pressing it to the box, folding it. I want them high, I want them lower down. So again, this is all about positioning until you're happy with the print on your paper. That's better. Yeah, that's more centred. So again, I'm going to fold it over, keep pressing, turn around, and you want to decide which way you want that overlapping. I'm happy with that. So again, holding this in position, check that it's centred. I just want to move it over a little bit. So the easiest way to take off double-sided tape, press it down to make sure it's sticking to your paper first of all, is to put your finger under and then peel the tape off like this. Also want to get a little bit of the side tape, and I'm just going to press it like that out the way. And if you find that your double-sided sticky part is coming back off with your liner, just press it down. So again, I'm using both hands, both fingers, and I'm going to smooth that into position, making sure that I've got that in the centre as much as possible. I'm going to do this a little bit at a time. So I'm peeling it off and holding it down. Peeling it off, holding it down, and make sure it's smooth. Now we've got the fold, but it's important that we get the fold to be as flat as possible without excess wrapping paper around the edge. So I've taken a little bit each side, maybe about halfway down. So that's about halfway down our box. And then using my fingers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that and lay it down, and I'm also going to pay attention to my score lines, and then I'm just going to smooth with my finger, and I'm going to press on the paper on where the score line is, and that way you get a really nice edge and the paper's not gaping open. So now that I've got that bit done, I can just use my fingers and smooth out as I'm going along, and just peel the tape a little bit at a time until we get over the edge. And there you can see that's quite smooth and it's not lumpy bumpy. So again, we want this edge to be smooth against here. So use your fingers and press and fold over. I'm going to hold this and pull, and I'm going to press there to make sure that tape's sticking, and then I'm going to do one side at a time, just pulling a little bit of the tape liner off and smoothing out as I go along. We can pull these two ends off now. And again, if you pick, it's harder. The easiest way is to take a nail and take it off. So again, I'm just going to use my finger, and I'm going to press a little bit at a time, smoothing it out so I don't get any lumps and bumps. And that's the first part of your box decorated. I think that's really cute. I like that. And this will now fold in. You can just pinch with your fingers. Now to make this a bit more neater, it's better if you have the bottom one going in first and then the top one going over the edge like that, and just press with your fingers to get those edges neat. So again, just pressing, and I'm putting my finger just under where the bend is, and I'm pressing on it. So so I'm supporting the card. Again, pinching those corners. What you can do is you can put a little bit of tape there, or you can use ribbon to seal your box up. So these are the papers for card making. They're about 120 GSM roughly, so they've got a little bit bite to them. They're not floppy like the wrapping paper. So with these ones, I'm only going to put the double-sided tape at either end. So the measurements for this, for the belly bands method, is 6 centimetres width and 17 centimetres in length. But again, kitchen roll manufacturers, they vary their size of the kitchen roll tube that's left, so measure first, but that's the suggestion for the ones that I've got. So again, I want to centre this design, and I quite like having the word bright there. And this one, I'm going to use this to decorate. So yeah, just decide where you want to centre your design, or whether you want it at the bottom. So I'm going to put there, that, so that you can still see bright and magical. I think quite like magical. So I'm making sure it's centred. Again, I'm pressing it down, turning it round. And while I'm holding it in position, I'm just going to peel that off. And you find this paper's easier to work with. So again, I'm just making sure that it's as tight as possible. Smooth it over, and again fold it under, making sure it's as tight as possible to the kitchen roll tube. I'm going to match it up there, make sure it's straight. You can see here it's the sticky sides coming off as well, so you just give that a press down. I'm just going to smooth it with my fingers. Again, lining it up as much as you possibly can. Now, because it's a tight fit, this card here isn't going to gape, whereas the thinner paper might have gaped. I'm having a look to see what I have. I quite like that. So maybe if I put that one, and I have that one like there, like that. Yeah, I quite like that ring. And just match it up. I'm just going to punch a hole in that. So yeah, I quite like that design, so I'll make that with that one. I've attached the paper to that side, and this is the one I'm going to use the silk flower on. So what would be nice is some of the packs that you get with the matching papers, etc., they come with little strips. You can actually use a piece of ribbon for this, or you can use a paper strip. I'm just going to measure how much I'm going to need, allowing for a little bit of an overlap. With this, whether you're using ribbon or you're using a paper strip, again, use double-sided tape can use glue, but it'll take a little while to dry. So you just take your nail again and go along, and I'm not going to take this all off. So again, I'm going to centre it first until I'm happy with it. I'm going to do this from the right side. So don't peel it off too much, just a little bit. So I'm just going to centre it. I'm going to look. So I'm centering it horizontally and vertically until I'm happy with it. That looks about right. I'm just going to flip it over. I'm going to centre it first. And then I'm going to peel the backing off a bit at a time. And again, I want to make sure this is tight to that edge. And before I press down, I'm going to centre it. This is slightly off, but it's not really going to matter. So I'm just straightening it up a little bit here. Again, pulling and lining it up there. When I'm happy with the position, and I press down. So that makes a nice strip there. I'm thinking that just needs that flower. So what I would do is use some hot glue and just glue that on like that. And what I have done is I've got some tags here. So let's see. So what you can do is you can match up the colours. These ones here, these are cut from old file folders, so recycling again. I'm thinking because we've got that, if we use a white background, because I've got the white there and the brown, that'll just be nice to match. So I'm going to have a look at my stamps and see what I've got to maybe actually put a poinsettia in there. Let's see what I have here that's going to match. So I've got all these stamps. I've got snowflakes, snowman. That's got holly in it. That's quite nice. That's okay, so looking at my stamps, let's see what I have. Roll them out. Snowflake, not for this one, although it does have kind of a star, so maybe that one. That one. And I've got a stamp here with the Jolly Little Santa with the red. I quite like that. Size wise, it'll just fit in nice. So yeah, I think I'm going to use this one because I can colour that in red and colour match it. I'm going to stamp some tags, some matching tags, and I'm also going to use clear stamp to make my own belly wrap for the boxes. There are plenty of free downloads for Christmas papers. We just Google it. You can even go on Create and Craft. There's lots of websites, including Crafter's Companion, etc. And the magazines, they all have free downloads where you can print off your own paper. But if you don't have a printer, you can use paint, put it on a plate, stamp into it, and then stamp onto your tags and onto your paper. So today I'm going to use I'm going to use little ink pads, the dye-based ink. And the technique is it's best to take the ink pad to the stamp and you just dab it gently. You only want the ink to go on the actual raised, bring it up onto the raised areas. You don't want it going onto the outline of the stamp. If the ink does go onto the outline of the stamp, use a bit of kitchen roll, a baby wipe, or a cotton bud to remove the extra colour. Okay, I can see I've got a little bit there, so I'm just going to take that off because what will happen is that could transfer onto the thing that I'm about to stamp. So we'll just take this and try and line it up in the middle. And then don't move it once you've decided where it's going to be, and just press it evenly all over and just let the paper drink up the ink. Don't lift it straight away. Sorry about the wobble. So when you're sure that you've got it all over, you can even get the slightest little rock there and then lift straight up, and you'll see there that we've got a little Santa to match the gift tag. This one here, I've already punched a hole in it. Again, always make sure you put your lid back over your ink pads because they can dry out in the heat. So I'm going to use a darker blue. I did try a pale blue, but it wasn't dark enough. So again, I'm just tapping gently, and I can see where the ink's going. So you make sure you've covered your stamp. Placing the lid. Again, I'm just going to centre it and press down. Just make sure I've pressed all over the stamp. Again, give it a few seconds for the paper to absorb the ink. Put your finger on your tag and then lift straight up. There we go. Now, you'll see here what's happened. There's been ink on the edge there. Sometimes you can actually take a rubber and rub that off, so I'm going to try that in a few minutes, but meanwhile I'll let that one dry. So I'll put those two to the side, and I'm going to use the clear rubber stamp that was free in the magazine. I'm going to make a gift tag, and I'm going to use a strip of paper. This is just 80 GSM, the paper you get in for your printer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp over the edge. You can, if you don't have a stamping pad yet, you can sometimes, if it's a thin small stamp, you can use a ruler. Again, use what you have. Another option, if you don't have a stamp block yet and you're just building up your craft supplies, the larger ink pads that are about that size, you can use the lid to put your stamp on. So again, I'm just going to tap gently, and you can see the ink on there, so you know that it's going on. And what I'm going to do with this is you can get different effects by doing what's called shadow stamping when you do a second one. So I'm going to make sure that I stamp over the edge. These are rocker blocks by Crafter Companion, so you can rock it like that, And you can see. Now, when I do the second one, you'll see the difference. The colour is slightly lighter. So I'm just going to continue stamping all the way along this sheet of paper. As I said, you can get free downloads online to print off your own. But if you fancy having a go with the kids, this is a nice pastime. It's good to do. You can also make your own stamps, carving out a rubber. If you've got the whittling tools, you can do that. Fine woodworking tools, you can use that. I'm just going to change the orientation of this. And I'm going to do a second one there. I'm going to slightly overlap that. I want to build it up. You could make your own stamp by using rubber and fine wood whittling tools, wood carving tools, or you could use potato. With that, you wouldn't get as fine a stamp with this, but you could do stuff like stars or a snowman. Again, I'm just going to change direction here. And I'm just building it up with different layers of colour as I go along. You could make your own wrapping paper doing this. Again, the stamps made with potatoes would be a lot quicker. They're using a wooden stamp. So again, just keep going and inking up until you've got all your sheet covered. Again, I'm going to do some seconds and possibly third layers there. So this is all hand stamped and each one will be unique. So I'm just going to take the okay, that one got ink on it. Just looking for another one. No, I don't have another one. Okay, I'll just show you the look. So again, I'm just going to match. Just going to overlap that slightly. So you see, you have a matching set to put around your box. And now I've speeded this up to save some time. So the photocopy paper, it's fine just to put the tape, double-sided tape, at either end. As I said before, with the wrapping paper, fine wrapping paper, it's best to put it around all four sides. And again, I'm just going to do what I usually do with all the others, is I'm going to centre it up and I'm going to smooth it with my fingers again at the edges, and then that means it's not going to gape when you've finished your box. The paper will be tight and smooth against the box with no gaping bits, so it'll look nice. So again, I'm just going to smooth it a bit at a time with my fingers, smooth it, sure it's tight over the folds. Again, as you're going along, centre it so it's always in the right position. and then line up the overlap to make sure it's even, and then just peel the tape off and just press it down when you're happy about positioning. And there, that's the hand stamped snowflake pillow box finished. And there's the matching gift tag. Now, I couldn't remember what the name of the string was before, and I still struggle because I have brain fog at times and I just can't remember what words are. Now, I should know this because I live in Dundee, and Dundee is well known for this. I know it's not hemp. I can't remember what it is. Jute. It's jute, yeah. So things eventually do come back to me, but I have to think about things, and then eventually the word comes to me, but usually it's afterwards. So these are the examples here that I've done so far. The red one in the stars, I'm still going to decorate that. I'll need to get my hot glue gun out and let that warm up, so that'll be the next part of the video. So I'm just matching the tags up with each one. So once you've made one, it's quite quick to make them. So definitely have a go. Have a look and see what you've got in your craft stash, or what you can find laying around the house that you can repurpose. And the jute string goes very nice with the recycled cardboard, so it's quite natural looking. So now I'm trying to decide which layers to put together to make this. Now, the heat gun's from Hobbycraft. I think it cost me about £5. So I'm just putting a dab of hot glue. And see, if you take your glue gun in a spiral, it stops the glue strings from happening as much, because they can be quite annoying. You can pull them off if you get strings of glue when it's cooled. You can just pull them off. So here I'm just moving it about. I just want a little bit of green to show. I don't want too much green to show. Now, poinsettias, they're not actually a flower. The red part of it is actually, the red and green part is the leaves. So for years I did think they were flowers, but learned a few years ago they're not. So they start off green and then eventually they turn red with the cold weather. So I've layered up 2 die cuts. It's a tattered lace die that I got as a free gift from crafting.co.uk, the tattered lace website. And it's actually a decoupage die, but I decided I wanted to use the flower, so I didn't use all the layers of the decoupage. I just used the bottom layer. So I'm applying a long strip of glue rather than a dot this time, because I want this to stay on well. And hot glue, it only takes a few seconds really to cool down, but always watch your fingers when you're using it. And I'm really happy with how this one turned out. It's gorgeous. So again, just fold in the edges. And it didn't take long, that's it cool now. So I just need to fold in the edges of the box, and that'll be that version finished. Now, I think my favourite is this poinsettia version, and the version that I'm using, the sticky back plastic, the red holographic love hearts. I think those two are my favourite. Although I do like the colour red, so maybe I'm biased, I don't know. No, wrong way again. Yeah. So always do where your paper overlaps. That's the side you want to push down first, and then the top end you push down, because that creates a nice folded edge. And there we have it. Thank you for watching the video today. If you found it helpful, please like and subscribe to see more videos like this. I do like to recycle when I can. If you look at the angel, you'll see to the top right, that's a sneak peek of a video I'm going to be doing soon. Thank you. Bye.